Donald Trump out front in the race for the Republican presidential nomination, but some analysts say he could be hitting a ceiling because he appears to perform worse as the voter turnout increases. So take a look at this chart. The purple line represents the number of votes, and you can see it peaks over South Carolina. Trump's percentage, the blue column, is lower than his percentage in New Hampshire and Nevada, where there weren't nearly as many votes cast. Sean Buell is a professional engineer and a member of the conservative conversation website Ricochet.com, and he's here to explain all of his graphs and colors and bars and stuff like that for us. Sean, welcome to The Real Story. So I understand that you are saying to the other Republican candidates at this point in time, don't panic. Why?
I just happen to think that Donald Trump has a natural ceiling within the Republican Party, particularly when you're looking at states that don't have open primaries. And when you look at what happened in Nevada, he did break through the ceiling that he seems to have of about 35% or so by having a small but very loyal cadre of people. And the number of voters in Nevada as compared to South Carolina is so small. It's only about 10% of what the voters were in South Carolina. So I think that as we start looking at larger states and we start looking at closed primaries, we're going to start seeing Donald Trump continue to bump into that ceiling. And unfortunately, Rubio and Cruz continue to cannibalize one another's votes. Okay, so let's take a look at another graph now. The 2016 GOP voter proportional vote share kind of looks like an inner tube that we used to swim with in a swimming pool. Explain this thing to us, Sean. Well, if you look at what Donald Trump has accomplished thus far, this graph basically shows what Donald's total vote get in terms of percentages is. And it also shows Cruz, Rubio, Kasich, Carson, and then the other category for candidates who've dropped out. So you can see that Donald has roughly 33% of the vote thus far. This is not cause for panic in conservative circles, because if you just look at what at what Rubio and Cruz have, they eclipse the Donald's total by a significant amount. Now, you can't make the assumption that if one or the other candidate drops out, that 100% of their votes will go to the other. But exit polling data does indicate that upwards of 70% of the voters for either one of the traditional candidates would conceivably go over to the other traditional candidate. So at a 3 or 2 to 1 clip, you would see those voters going to Rubio or Cruz, vice versa. All right, so speaking of Rubio, possible states that in your analysis that you think Rubio could win now moving forward: Georgia and my home state of Minnesota. Why? There's a geographic factor, I believe, that's going on in this race as well. If you look at the areas where Donald Trump has done well, you'll see that he does well in the Northeast, and he also does very well in the Rust Belt. Rubio has an opportunity, in my estimation, to pick up delegates in the Georgia primary. It's right next to his home state of Florida. And Minnesota is an interesting, your home state, Gretchen, of Minnesota is interesting because it's a little bit bluer. To say the least. But it's also a Midwestern state. Yes, it is. But it's also, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to perform as well in the relatively large urban areas. If you look at the exit polling from South Carolina, for instance, Rubio did very well in urban areas. Okay, that's all very fascinating. So we will keep those reminders in our head as we move towards Super Tuesday. Sean, we'll see how accurate you may have been. Thank you.